Feel like we're in Groundhog Day again. We've had this cast. We did this yesterday. Yep. I'm sure of it.
We're going to keep doing it.
Okay, that's fine.
Every time there's an even warlock, I'm going to bring it up.
Fair enough. Well, there isn't one right now. We've got a priest mirror instead, although not a true mirror in terms of archetype. We've got clones on one side, dragons on the other. Monsanto on the dragon side of that persuasion. Whereas Killen all day playing, honestly, one of my favorite decks in the game right now, the Clone Priest.
Why is that?
So I love big degenerate strategies that blow my opponent up in one turn. Big fan of that to begin with. But also I think when you actually like dig down into playing the deck extensively, it doesn't do just that. Every game is very, very different. Every game you have to react to the state and figure out how you're winning. And sometimes that's through spellstones making boards. Sometimes it's through burst damage. Your draws and your revive pool influences that all the time. I feel like every game evolves as the player playing Priest very organically and very fluidly. Whereas if you're the player playing against Priest, I get it. It seems like they're just doing a bunch of dumb nonsense over and over again and then you die. But trust me, there's some decisions going on from the Priest player.
So what, is there any hard and fast rules to it? Like this matchup in particular, is there anything that Killen is looking for specifically, or is it, again, sort of that fluid adaptation?
Yeah, it has to be fluid. So the fact that Killen's already drawn a Malagos right now, dissuades him a little bit from going for pure burst plan, right? Like you're not just going to get like a turn 9 Xerix into burn. So it means, say, if Killen here is going to be casting Shadow Visions at any times in the near future, he might be less inclined to take Holy Smites and Mind Blasts because he's not going to just get that turn 9 OTK with the Xerix. He might be looking more towards Eternal Servitudes, towards Spellstones, towards removal tools if Monsanto starts to build a board. You really do just have to adapt on the fly, turn by turn. And that right there is a perfect indicator of that. Floats 3 mana, not casting Shadow Visions. The reason being, he doesn't know what he wants from Shadow Visions yet. He doesn't know what kind of game this is.
And kind of talking about the Malagos for a second, you mentioned he's already drawn it. That is a key factor in the resurrection pools. The goal is to get, you know, a Velen and a Malagos simultaneously on board and then do something to blow your opponent up.
Yes.
Malagos is a pretty tough minion for Killen to actually just get in play. I'm looking at the pair of Twilight Acolytes and the 2 Cabal Shadow Priests from Monsanto that are in the deck list. You know, how big of a fear is for Killen is that for the whole game?
It's a concern, but again, it's something that you can adapt to over time as you evolve the deck playing out, and you don't always have to win through burst damage. You know, there is only a couple of Psychic Streams for Monsanto in the deck in terms of real hard removal, and Monsanto's actually drawn both of them, so he can't even pick up extra Shadow Visions copies, which means sometimes you can just win by building boards that they can't answer. You know, like a couple of revives on Eternal Servitudes on big minions into a big Spellstone at the end can often just be enough to get the job done as well.
This deck is just so weird to me. Like, I look at it and I'm like, how does it win? I know how it wins when I play against it because I feel like I typically die very quickly, but you know, quickly being relative, they just nothing, die.
Yes. And believe me, I am in no way defending, like, the nuts draw that this deck has, that Clone Priest has, is unbeatable by everything else in the game. Like, if they get it, you just die, and there was no decision process. As long as your opponent knew how the deck worked, you died, and there was nothing you can do about it. And I get that a lot of people find that to be, you know, degenerate and frustrating. But the 90% of games where that doesn't happen, that's where the deck gets really fun for me.
I will respectfully disagree with you.
I knew you would, yeah.
Seems like a pretty easy Scale Worm turn. The Power Word Shield, however, you know, Monsanto does have some considerations of his own as well. You know, his damage is much more limited, I think, than Killen's is.
Yeah.
However, his damage is not, it's not parsed into giant chunks of availability. It's more of a, how much gas do you have for Shadowy Branduin once it arrives?
Right. And it's, again, something that you can play around as the Clone Priest if you want to go that way. You can save up for, like, a Revive Malagos plus Spirit Lash kind of turn when your health is getting low on a key position. Because you know that, you know, you need to play around, like, 19 from the opponent. That's, like, the safe zone against Mind Blast Priest. So if you start getting below that, you can just time a nice Spirit Lash combo to get back up again. But Killen might just choose to go pure aggression as well at some point.
Looks like he's going for some value here, too. It's just what he's got available. Shadow Vision's option's not looking too bad. Second Mind Blast picked up thanks to Lyra as well. So that is a major hidden tool. Killen can have in the back pocket. And very interested in just continuing to cycle spells through to power up the Spellstone in the hand.
Yeah, I like it with that Spellstone in hand. As you mentioned, Shadow Visions is just a great pick. And also Shadow of Death, not great against the deck that he's playing against. You know, Alex Straza, really the only threat that you're going to be hitting with that. So yeah, I kind of like recycling the Shadow Visions in the spot he was in.
And I feel like Killen is starting to get under threat of taking some pretty serious damage here. I mean, this is 9 uncontested on the previous turn.
Yeah. Honestly, I feel like that's what the Rezzing Lyra was about there. I don't think he was super interested in like trying to go deep on a Lyra. He just wanted to get a 3-5 back in play so he can slow down his opponent's development a little bit, because it's one thing that opponents do need to do against Clone Priest, but perhaps do a little bit too much, is respect and kill your minions. Because a lot of time as the Clone Priest player, you're happy when they kill your minion. Your minion just got cheaper when they killed it. It now costs 4 instead of 9. That's sweet.
Thinking to save the second and third copy of this same legendary card.
Yep.
Feel like with Alex Straza in hand, you do have the liberty to just slow it down a tad.
The nod from Killen. Very happy with how that turn panned out, I think. No pressure added and no damage pushed. And yeah, Killen just snaps the Psychic Scream off the top.
Yeah, he did need to do something that turn. My head was like, oh, Psychic Scream's pretty good here, but
right,
it was just so quick.
Yeah.
Is that comfort, or is it just the only thing he's got to do, or?
I think it's recognizing phases of the game. I think Dragon Priest pressure only really lasts up until a certain point. You know, they can curve out and be aggressive up into a point, and then they get stuck doing awkward things like playing a 6-mana Chillwind Yeti to pressure you. So yeah. I think, you know, Killen All Day recognizes like, you know what? This is past the period of the game where I just have to survive. Now my deck starts doing really, really powerful things, and I want to spend my mana on doing those powerful things, not dealing with my opponent's board.
I also feel like Cabal Shadow Priest, you know, being used into the mix, I feel like that is a small victory for Killen, where he knows that later on in the game, it's less likely that a minion gets Twilight Acolyte and then stolen away. And now I'm curious, because I'm looking at Zarek's cloning gallery, and there's still 2 Radiant Elementals in the deck.
2 Radiants and a Velen, but I believe too many minions remaining to guarantee that combination. I think he still has, I think he still has 8 total minions remaining in his deck, so he could whiff on either a Velen or one of those Radiant Elementals when he pulls it.
And the Spellstone juiced up to full now.
It's looking like a Zarek's into if I don't kill you, rip the Spellstone kind of game.
Shadow Visions is just so good in the Cloning Priest. The fact that you have a legendary spell that you can effectively have 3 chances to grab is just insane to me. I remember players at the start of that, when Boomsday Project first came out, they were going, oh, it's a Cloning Gallery Priest. This is I don't know how, but this is the deck. And I was like, oh, shut up, you're dumb. What are these 1/1s going to do?
Well, it turns out they die, and that's good. That's a real good thing.
My next question was, well, how do you stay alive long enough? And then, you know, Mass Hysteria thanks to Rastakon's Rumble, and suddenly all those questions got answered. It's just a real thing.
Yep.
I do like all your points, though. It's just one of those decks where...
Ooh, clever stuff. 2 more minions going back into the deck now for Killen All Day, which means his odds of hitting double Radiant Elemental, Velen, and Malygos, from Monsanto's perspective, have just gone down. That is a very heads-up play. Monsanto recognized that Killen All Day has fired off a bunch of Shadow Visions. There's a good chance he picked up a Zarek's off one of those turns. So he says, you know what? Have 2 more minions in your deck. You now have, I've lost count, 11 to 12 minions in your deck total, which means you have a pretty low percentage of pinning that out to begin with.
But I'm seeing the Malygos hit here too. And for Monsanto, I look at that Cabal Shadow Priest and I wonder, did that prompt Killen All Day perhaps to just, I mean, he took, again, this turn pretty instantaneously with the Malygos. Was this in your head automatic as well?
Yes. Yeah, turn 9, if it doesn't feel like a good Zarek's turn, just get the Mally out there to die.
You have no fear of it being stolen?
It's a good general rule. I don't think so. I think if it does get stolen, Killen has a Psychic Scream of its own to respond with, and it's not like you're ever going to play Mally and kill it yourself, right? You're always exposed to that risk happening.
So the sooner the better.
So the sooner the better, yeah. Okay. Just reduce the chances of them actually having the combination to draw. Plus, as you mentioned, 1 Cabal already used.
Wow.
So Killing All Day has some of the time lethal at any given point now.
Ooh,
from
Velen.
Cloning Gallery. Ooh,
So that ticks down that lethal.
it does.
Maxim now is 27, I believe.
Correct, yes.
The Lyra can produce. You could Shadow Visions another Holy Smite and maybe set up a at a future turn.
Yeah, it's true actually. If he gets Mali, Radiant, Lyra, then maximum damage is infinity, technically.
Yeah. But with the Mind Blast, Holy Smite, and then Shadow Visions into second Holy Smite.
Ooh, yes indeed.
That's 34.
Mm-hmm.
So there is a chance that Killing could go for lethal here, but again, we're looking at additional minion in the deck, thanks to the Cabal Shadow Priest, and the Lyra that he had drawn and played is back in the deck.
Going for it.
It's not happening this turn.
Just the one Radiant Elemental, and there you see, far right, Cabal Shadow Priest coming out. If that hadn't have been screamed into the deck, that could have been the Radiant Elemental that Killing All Day would have needed for potential lethal.
Killing says, I want to have a second go at this, and he's going to have a coin in hand on the follow-up.
Yep, Gilded Gargoyle makes magic happen. This can draw damage as well off the Lich King, but does not. Gets Army of the Dead instead, but that's never a particularly dead card in the matchup.
I'm looking at a problem now for Monsanto, and that is that Wild Pyromancers have been used. The Cabal Shadow Priest targets do not feel fantastic.
Yeah, just a quick check for those of you at home looking to play competitive Hearthstone. When there's a 1/1 spell damage minion on the board, you should check if you have lethal by Cabal Shadow Priesting your opponent's spell damage minion.
Also cool trick, when your cards are active in hand with special effects, like Twilight Acolyte, it'll glow yellow.
If you're colorblind, unlucky.
Yeah. Sorry, Brian Killer.
Mind Blast number 2, but not enough mana. This was a danger for Killing All Day. If double Mind Blast plus Cabal was in hand there for Monsanto, he would have had the 20.
So Monsanto is going to be very interested in actually just leaving this Malygos alive, is that correct?
It's very much looking that way.
And so for Killing now, he needs board space in order to produce extra damage here, and he can't make that. He can't grow his minions. He can't really do anything. Did Monsanto just lock the game?
I'm trying to think if there is a way that you can kill one of your own minions and replace it with the Velen, but I just...
He doesn't have a way in hand to do that.
I don't think there is.
Whoa, Monsanto spotted a brilliant move here. Nothing. So fine, have your 7/1/1s.
Oh, not nothing, Admirable. It was bootleg Ice Block and pass. That was the turn.
Damn, 6 mana, 5 damage your face.
Yep. It's 27. That's all he's got.
Was he trying to bluff?
It worked. Monsanto believed it for a second.
But he didn't concede.
He didn't concede. But I think
Killen was actually going for the hope you concede spot.
Why not?
If he had done that immediately, does it have more payoff?
Probably, yes. I think just for a split second,
wow,
Monsanto believed.
Monsanto's going to win this game. That's insane.
There it is. And we set it up. We hoped we would see day 2 improve on the standards of day 1. You don't need a better demonstration than the very lethal that was missed on day 1 being snatched out of the jaws of defeat from Monsanto with a great setup play beforehand as well to essentially do nothing, say go, snap off the Holy Fire, left that Mali on board, left Killing All Day with most likely 27 damage in hand, which is what he ended up having.
That is unbelievable.
Are you a fan yet? Was that game not fun? Come on! Clone Priest is sweet, guys.